Have you ever wondered if the simple act of brewing your morning coffee connects you to a legend whispered in ancient lands, a story of dancing goats and Sufi mystics? What if I told you that the journey of that dark, invigorating liquid in your cup began not in a bustling city, but in the untamed highlands of Ethiopia, all thanks to a curious goat herder? Welcome to Origin Stories, where we unearth the fascinating beginnings of the things that shape our world. Today, we're embarking on an epic adventure to trace the astonishing lineage of coffee. From its almost mythical discovery in the Horn of Africa, through its revolutionary spread across continents, and finally to its ubiquitous presence in every corner of our modern lives, culminating in global giants like Starbucks. This isn't just a drink. It's about a cultural force that has fueled revolutions, inspired artists, and defined daily rituals for billions. Are you ready to uncover the true origin story of coffee? Let's dive in. Our story begins in the ancient kingdom of Kaffa, nestled in the southwestern highlands of what is now Ethiopia, around the 9th century CE. While concrete archaeological evidence from this early period is scarce, the most enduring and beloved origin myth centers on a young goat herder named Kaldi. The legend goes that Kaldi noticed his goats behaving unusually energetically after munching on the bright red berries of a particular evergreen shrub. They were practically dancing. Curious, Kaldi tried the berries himself and experienced a similar exhilarating buzz. He shared his discovery with the abbot of a local monastery. Initially, the abbot disapproved, throwing the devil's berries into a fire. But as the beans roasted, an enticing aroma filled the air. The abbot, intrigued, raked the embers, ground the beans, and dissolved them in hot water. The resulting brew kept him awake and alert during long hours of prayer. Thus, according to folklore, coffee was born. While a charming tale, it points to a crucial truth. Coffee's origins are deeply rooted in the Ethiopian plateau. Beyond the legends, the botanical evidence is undeniable. Ethiopia is the undisputed genetic birthplace of Coffea arabica, the species responsible for approximately 60% of the world's coffee production today. Wild coffee forests still thrive in the Bonga, Yayu, and Harena regions of Ethiopia, providing a living testament to its natural origins. For centuries, before any formal cultivation, various Oromo and other indigenous groups in Ethiopia likely consumed coffee berries, perhaps crushing them and mixing them with animal fat to form energy-rich food balls, perfect for sustenance during long journeys or battles. This form of consumption highlights coffee's initial role as a functional food, a stark contrast to the brewed beverage we know today. Even in these early stages, coffee wasn't just about sustenance. It held cultural weight. The act of consuming coffee, even in its raw form, was often communal. As the brewing method evolved, particularly with the introduction of roasting, the coffee ceremony became a profound cultural institution in Ethiopia, known as buna. This intricate ritual, passed down through generations, involves roasting green beans over coals, grinding them by hand, and brewing the coffee in a traditional clay pot called a jabena. It's a slow, deliberate process, often taking hours, reflecting hospitality, respect, and community bonds. The Buna ceremony isn't just about the drink. It's a social anchor, a space for conversation, reconciliation, and blessing, demonstrating coffee's deep embedding in Ethiopian social fabric long before it captivated the world. How did coffee leave its Ethiopian cradle? The most credible historical accounts and archaeological findings point across the narrow Red Sea to Yemen, starting around the 15th century CE. It's believed that Ethiopian slaves, merchants, or Sufi pilgrims carried coffee beans, perhaps initially as seeds or even whole berries, to the Arabian Peninsula. Yemen, strategically positioned on vital trade routes between Africa and Asia, became coffee's first true adoptive home and the crucial launchpad for its global journey. The port city of Mocha, Al-Mukha, would later become synonymous with coffee itself, testifying to its central role. Here in Yemen, coffee truly transformed from a wild fruit into a cultivated beverage. It was the Sufi mystics of Yemen who are widely credited with popularizing the brewing of roasted coffee beans. For Sufis, spiritual devotion often involved long nights of prayer, chanting, and meditation. They discovered that a beverage made from these mysterious beans helped them stay awake and focused during their dhikr, remembrance of God, rituals. The stimulating effects of coffee perfectly aligned with their spiritual practices, providing a non-intoxicating way to achieve heightened states of awareness. Historical texts, such as those by Sheikh Abd al-Qadir in 1587, explicitly detail coffee's use by Sufis, solidifying this connection. As coffee's popularity grew among Sufis and the general populace in Yemen, a new social institution emerged, the Kahve-khane, or coffee house. By the late 15th and early 16th centuries, these establishments became vibrant centers of social, intellectual, and political life in cities like Mecca, Cairo, and Damascus. They were places where men gathered to discuss news, play chess, listen to music, and engage in lively debates, all over cups of coffee. Unlike taverns, they offered a sober alternative, fostering intellectual discourse and challenging traditional social structures. These early coffee houses were the precursors to modern cafes, laying the groundwork for coffee's role as a catalyst for community and conversation, a tradition that endures to this day. From Yemen, coffee's journey continued north, riding the waves of the mighty Ottoman Empire's influence. By the early 16th century, coffee had arrived in Mecca and Cairo, and by 1555 it reached the grand capital of the Ottoman Empire, Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. Legend has it that two Syrian merchants introduced coffee to the city. The Ottoman court quickly embraced the exotic new beverage, and it wasn't long before it became a staple in the imperial palace. The meticulous preparation of Turkish coffee, with its fine grind and slow brewing in a sezve, became an art form, a symbol of hospitality and refinement that still defines coffee culture in the region. Just as in Yemen, coffee houses in Constantinople exploded in popularity. They were called kahvehane and quickly became integral to Ottoman urban life. Scholars, poets, artists, and even ordinary citizens flocked to these establishments, transforming them into vital public spaces. They were known as schools for the wise because they fostered intellectual exchange and political discussion, becoming hotbeds of gossip, news, and even dissent. This popularity, however, also drew suspicion from religious authorities and political leaders who viewed these gathering places with concern, leading to sporadic bans and attempts to suppress them. But coffee's allure proved too strong, and the kavahane thrived. The Ottoman Empire wasn't just a military and political powerhouse, it was also a cultural crossroads. As diplomatic ties between the Ottomans and European powers grew, coffee began to make its first subtle appearances in Europe. Ambassadors, merchants, and travelers returning from the Ottoman lands brought back tales of this intriguing dark beverage. They marveled at the social rituals surrounding it and the energy it provided. What if I told you that the very first coffee to reach European shores wasn't just a commodity, but a curiosity, a conversation starter, and a symbol of an exotic, powerful empire? This early exposure would soon spark Europe's own love affair with coffee. The 17th century marked coffee's grand entrance into Europe. Venice, a major trading port with the East, was among the first to embrace it, with the first Venetian coffeehouse, Café Florian, opening in 1683, though some argue earlier, less permanent establishments existed. London saw its first coffeehouse in 1652, and by the turn of the 18th century, thousands dotted the city, earning them the nickname penny universities, because for the price of a penny, one could buy a cup of coffee and engage in stimulating conversation and read the latest news. Paris, Amsterdam, and Vienna soon followed suit. These elegant European coffee houses became centers of intellectual ferment, business deals, and artistic inspiration, much like their Ottoman predecessors. Think of figures like Isaac Newton, Voltaire, and Bach. Many of their greatest ideas were likely conceived over a steaming cup of coffee in these very establishments. As demand for coffee surged in Europe, it transitioned from a luxury item to a vital commodity. The powerful East India companies, particularly the Dutch and British, played a pivotal role in this transformation. Originally focused on spices, they quickly recognized the immense potential of coffee. However, the Ottomans and Yemenis fiercely protected their coffee monopoly, refusing to export fertile beans. But secrets rarely stay secret. In 1616, the Dutch managed to smuggle coffee saplings out of Mocha and began cultivating them in their colonial territories, most notably on the island of Java in modern-day Indonesia by the late 17th century. This was a game-changer, breaking the Arab monopoly and initiating large-scale global cultivation. The introduction of coffee had a profound impact on European society, particularly in the realm of public health and social habits. Before coffee, the primary beverages consumed throughout the day were often alcoholic, weak beer or wine, even by children due to unsafe drinking water. Coffee offered a stimulating, non-intoxicating alternative. It provided clarity, focus, and energy, contributing to greater productivity and sobriety, especially among the burgeoning merchant and intellectual classes. Did you know that some historians credit coffee with playing a subtle but significant role in the Enlightenment, by fostering sober, reasoned debate in its vibrant coffeehouse settings? This was a societal shift that laid foundations for modern working culture. Coffee's journey to the Americas is a tale of ambition, intrigue, and even a romantic gesture. In the early 18th century, a single coffee plant, descended from Dutch cultivation, was presented to King Louis XIV of France. This plant, carefully tended in the royal botanical gardens, eventually gave rise to many of the coffee trees in the French colonies. However, the most famous story involves a Portuguese lieutenant colonel, Francisco de Melo Palheta. Sent to French Guiana in 1727 to mediate a border dispute, his true mission was to acquire coffee seeds. When diplomacy failed, he reportedly seduced the French governor's wife, who, as a parting gift, presented him with a bouquet of flowers concealing fertile coffee seedlings. These smuggled plants were the progenitors of Brazil's massive coffee industry, a country that would eventually dominate global production. While coffee brought economic prosperity to colonial powers and a beloved beverage to consumers, its rapid expansion in the Americas came at an immense human cost. The establishment of vast coffee plantations, particularly in the Caribbean, Central America, and Brazil, relied almost entirely on the brutal system of enslaved African labor. Millions were forcibly transported and subjected to horrific conditions to cultivate, harvest, and process coffee beans. The story of coffee, like that of sugar and cotton, is inextricably linked to this dark chapter of exploitation and human suffering. It's a sobering reminder that the delicious drink many enjoy today has a deeply complex and often painful past. In North America, coffee also found a fertile ground, though its rise was somewhat tied to political events. The infamous Boston Tea Party in 1773, a protest against British taxes on tea, led many American colonists to boycott tea and switch to coffee as a patriotic act. This helped solidify coffee's place in early American society. As the nation grew, so did its coffee consumption. By the 19th century, coffee was a staple in American homes, diners, and increasingly specialized shops. The advent of simpler brewing methods and the rise of industrialization made coffee more accessible than ever, setting the stage for the mass market we recognize today. The 20th century ushered in an era of unprecedented innovation in coffee processing and consumption. The invention of instant coffee, notably by Japanese-American chemist Satoru Kato in 1901 and further perfected by George Washington, not that George Washington, in 1906, revolutionized convenience. Suddenly, a hot cup of coffee could be made with just water, without brewing. This, combined with advances in packaging and transportation, made coffee more ubiquitous and accessible than ever before, cementing its place as a daily staple for millions globally, particularly during wartime when soldiers relied on its quick energy boost. After the initial boom of mass-produced, often lower-quality coffee, the late 20th century saw the emergence of the second wave of coffee, epitomized by companies like Peet's Coffee and, most famously, Starbucks. This wave shifted focus from mere quantity to quality, introducing terms like specialty coffee, darker roasts, and a wider range of espresso-based drinks. Coffee became an experience, a lifestyle. The third wave, which began in the early 21st century, pushed this even further, emphasizing single-origin beans, lighter roasts, meticulous brewing methods, and direct trade relationships with farmers, treating coffee with the reverence of fine wine. This constant evolution reflects our ongoing fascination with the drink. No story about coffee's modern journey would be complete without Starbucks. Founded in Seattle in 1971 by Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker, originally as a retailer of roasted coffee beans, it was Howard Schultz who transformed it into the global coffeehouse giant we know today. Inspired by the vibrant espresso bars of Italy, Schultz envisioned Starbucks as a third place, a comfortable, inviting space between home and work. Through aggressive expansion, consistent branding, and a keen understanding of consumer desires, Starbucks not only popularized specialty coffee drinks like lattes and cappuccinos, but also fundamentally changed urban landscapes and social habits worldwide. It democratized the cafe experience, making it accessible to millions, and introducing an entire generation to sophisticated coffee culture. What if I told you that Starbucks, with its thousands of locations across the globe, is not just selling coffee, but a consistent, recognizable experience, connecting diverse cultures through a shared ritual? Today, coffee faces new challenges and opportunities. Climate change threatens coffee-growing regions, while issues of fair trade and sustainable sourcing are paramount. From laboratory-grown coffee to new brewing technologies and exotic new varieties, the innovation continues. The journey from a wild berry in Ethiopia to a multi-billion-dollar global industry, fueled by passion, driven by trade, and shaped by culture, is far from over. From Chaldees dancing goats in the ancient Ethiopian highlands to the iconic green siren of Starbucks, the story of coffee is a testament to curiosity, commerce, and cultural exchange. It's a story of how a simple seed can spark spiritual awakenings, fuel intellectual revolutions, and connect billions of people across continents and centuries. Coffee isn't just a drink, it's a shared heritage, a daily ritual, and a powerful symbol of our interconnected world. It has shaped economies, ignited creativity, and provided solace and energy when we needed it most. So, the next time you take that first sip, remember the incredible, epic journey encapsulated in every drop. If you found this origin story as captivating as a perfectly brewed cup, please give this video a like. Your support helps us uncover more incredible histories. Don't forget to subscribe to Origin Stories and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive. What's your favorite coffee memory? Or where did you have your most unforgettable cup? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if you know someone who loves their coffee as much as we do, please share this video with them. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep enjoying those amazing origin stories.